welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more fantastical.
At the moment, we're talking about coming-of-age stories from the 80s.
On this episode, The NeverEnding Story from 1984.
I'm Emma, and don't worry, it's a racing snail.
I'm Anderson. Nobody gives a hoot about me and my stupid bat.
The NeverEnding Story. Let me tell you, here's a thing that I want in my life.
Turn around. Yes, I want to know.
That during the like traveling moment of fantasy films, you get like a pop banger right in the middle of it, like an 80s synth pop banger in every movie. You're watching 2021 June, and they're like, "Oh, we need to go and get in the bug helicopters now." And go, and then they get in and they're flying, and then it's like do 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 do.
Why don't we have these theme songs in every movie? What's happened?
We don't make theme songs for movies so much anymore, you know? Why not?
Yeah, because do you know why? Because everybody's lost all of their whimsy. Okay, the last theme song for a movie, probably Austin Powers. It's probably Austin Powers.
Shallow was kind of a theme. It was kind of one.
Which one?
In the shallow. Won an Oscar for that. But not really a theme song. It's just like a song in a movie. That's what we have now. We have songs in movies. But you're not going to be like, James Bond, No Time to Die. Oh, no, wait. They actually did do that. No Time to Die.
James Bond. The movie's about James Bond. And
he's a
James
spy and
Bond.
he likes to have sex.
He loves it. And also, don't forget, he'll definitely have a fun gadget. His name is James Bond. James Bond.
He likes his drinks shaken, not stirred, and he has a Aston Martin.
The Martini. And also
Aston Martini. Hey. Aston Martini. Has anybody made that joke before? You know what else that we don't really do anymore? Films where it's like somebody starts reading a book and then the book becomes the film. We've got Labyrinth,
right?
We've got The Princess Bride, we've got The NeverEnding Story, all of the 80s. Why do we stop doing that?
So right. Why don't more movies start as a book and then turn into a movie?
The next James Bond film, it's a kid in bed and he's wearing like a little tuxedo and he's got like a martini, but it's like actually like a glass of milk in a martini glass. And he's like, wow, I love James Bond so much. And then he starts reading the book James Bond.
Yeah, and
then that becomes the story.
Why don't they do that? Well, hey, all those Marvel movies that were based on books, right? Yeah. Why didn't they start with some kid sick in bed who can't go to dance class reading a Marvel comic book, and she's all like, I'm sad and sick, and I wish Spider-Man was my friend. And then Spider-Man jumps in and goes, just your neighborhood friendly Spider-Man, and that's how the movie starts.
Yeah, or like it's that, and then that's the movie, and then Spider-Man's in it, and then at the end she closes the book, and her grandfather was like, "Wasn't that a great story?" And she's like, "Yes, thanks, Grandpa. That was a brilliant story." And he goes, "Yeah, great." And then he walks out, and he gets up to the door, right. And then he opens the door, and he just like slightly pulls back his shirt a little bit, and then it's like the Spider-Man, like you know the neck bit of the Spider-Man costume, and he's like, "Wink,
swish," or as you Spider-Net, you know, and
yeah.
he just.
With power comes great, you know the rest. That's what he says.
You know the rest. Out. The more we talk about movies, the more I realize that people who make movies, they don't know anything about movies, right?
Nothing, no.
Nobody listens
We
to
know
us.
everything.
Has anyone ever asked your opinion about a major motion picture? Because no, as well for me.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what this is, if you know what I mean. Like, this is kind of, what we're doing is kind of asking each other our opinions on major motion pictures. So,
and one of us might be a secret filmmaker millionaire. You never know.
Oh,
I might be Steven Spielberg himself.
So, okay, we'll get to the film.
Yeah.
I've never seen you and Steven Spielberg in the same.
That's what I'm saying.
We've
never been in the same. But you ever seen us in the same place? Nope.
And you do have like an incredible mansion.
Oh, this old thing? No.
Yeah, for somebody who just has a podcast.
And all of that, like, all of the original E.T. props that I just have lying around, they don't
Yeah, see, I
add
came
any.
to your house and I saw the shopping trolley and I just thought that you were somebody who, you know, was a bit of like a petty criminal. No, it's not a shopping trolley. It's a bike with a basket on it. I don't know why. Why did I think it was a shopping trolley?
Famous scene of that guy's movie. That guy, Steven Spielberg's movie, E.T., where Elliot
do you know what I
and
think happened? I think I did the same thing that I did when we were talking about Risky Business, where I incorrectly remembered a parody of something rather than the original. Good Lord.
Although, actually, I mean, to be fair, when I was watching the NeverEnding Story, all I could think about was a very particular web comic called Strong Bad, where in one scene, he's pouring all this Mountain Dew over a computer, and he's just singing, "The Never-Ending Soda."
Yeah.
And that's a reference for 5 people.
I was also thinking about Stranger Things. It is Stranger Things where they do a bit with the NeverEnding Story, right? Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was this or Sex Education. I've seen so much content.
It's just too much. It's just too much content. It's too much content.
So I started watching. We'll get to the film. I've started watching Superstore,
right?
And when I say started watching, what I mean is I started at 11 a.m. this morning,
and then finished.
I'm now on season 2. And then I was explaining it to my partner when he came home, and I was just like, basically just describing it through a series of references to other things that we've already seen. I was like, oh, it's kind of like it's got the characters of Scrubs, but then it's like the background is more like Parks and Recreation, but then you kind of got the environment of like of an office situation, and and I was like, oh my god, I've seen so much content.
When you start describing something specifically and exclusively by referencing other content, that's when you know you have a problem.
Yeah, I do. You
need to go to Content Anonymous.
Hi, my name's Emma, and I'm addicted to binging TV shows. You know what my life is like? My life is just so much content, one after the other. I'm just TV, movies, video games, TV, movies. It's just kind of like all merging into one long, never-ending story.
Well done. Bravo. You brought it back.
You.
We went around and around, and then we got right back to it. The never-ending story.
Story. You have to say it like that.
The never-ending story.
Okay, anyway, whose turn is it to do the recap? Is it yours or mine?
I think it's your turn.
My turn. Fantastic. Okay. So we should probably get to talking about the film that we're supposed to talk about. You know, I keep hearing people like complaining about podcasts where they like have too much chit chat at the start and then don't get to the point quickly enough, and I'm always like, nah,
come on,
we don't do that.
Don't push us. Don't force us into your box. You know, your conformist podcast where it has to have a formula, right? We're not that podcast where those guys talk about food all the time, right? We're just people, right?
We're just people. We're trying our best. The never-ending story. Never-ending story. I feel somewhat okay in beating around the bush a little bit because I feel like surely a lot of people have got to have seen this. I've seen it before. Had you seen it before?
So many times.
So many times. See, I hadn't seen it so many times. I've seen it, I think, like probably once actually when I was really young. So I had a very, very vague memory of it. And you can probably remember the moment that stuck in my head. The one moment.
You mean the moment where Bastian decides, actually, I shouldn't eat all of this peanut butter and jelly sandwich right away. I should save some for later. Is that the scene?
Nope.
Was it the time when there was that woman who has 4 different faces on a rotating head?
No.
Oh, so I guess you're talking about the time when the horse sank into the swamp of sadness and everybody cried and it was really sad. Yeah.
Why? Oh God, it's so sad. How dare they?
How dare you? Do you still have sad dreams about that? I mean, I figure it's normal that everybody has a nightmare about that at least.
And I think for a while I didn't remember which film actually did this. I knew there was like a film where the horse died and it was incredibly traumatic and I couldn't remember which one, and then I was like, it was this one. No. Okay.
So
all right,
sad.
I will do the recap now. I promise. Here it comes.
Here we go.
The NeverEnding Story, based on a book. It's about a kid called Bastian. Surely it's short for Sebastian, I would imagine. He's shy. He's bullied. His mum's dead. And he is running away from some bullies one day, runs into a bookshop where the bookseller gives him this book, which is The NeverEnding Story.
Well, he steals
He takes it to
steals the
school.
book, right?
He steals it, yeah. He steals it. He said he leaves a note saying he's going to bring it back. So.
Plus the shopkeeper's a bit
That's-
like, don't steal this
yeah.
book. Wink.
Wink.
I want you to have it. Wink.
And then he is not explained at all. His role in the whole thing is not explained. So he then gets to school. He's late for his math test. So he runs into the attic of the school and opens this book and reads it. We are then transported away to a magical, fantastical land called Fantasia. The main problem that we have in this story, in this world, is that something is destroying it. That something being called the Nothing. And we need somebody to save Fantasia. There's a big meeting at this palace, and they decide there's a hero who can do this, and his name is Atreyu. Atreyu turns up, and they go, we need you to save the world. Off you go. And he goes, okay. And then he goes out, and I always love that moment where they're like, we need you to go on a quest. I would love it if somebody one day just came up to me and said, can you go on a quest for me, please? I'd be like,
right?
Finally. I've been waiting so long for somebody to ask me to go on a quest.
Why has nobody asked me to quest for anything?
Yeah.
Yet?
Right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, do you mind doing, can you do me a favor or something? It's like, I will if you ask me to do it as a quest.
So what you're saying is, so what you're saying is if say your partner said to you, hey, do you mind picking up some milk?
Go get some milk.
You'd be like,
yeah.
But if they said,
brave adventurer,
please,
I call upon you. The
to
call
bring
of adventure has
the
come
sweetest
down.
and creamiest of all of the dairies back to the kingdom of
Yes.
mug and tea, if you will.
That's what we call our house, the Kingdom of Mug. The next funny thing about this is that Atreyu leaves the palace on his horse and is like surging off, but he doesn't really know where he's going. Like he's like, okay, I'm ready, and he like surges out and then is like,
What do I
going
do?
somewhere, and it's like, cool, what are you doing? Where are you going? Do you know? Which I quite like because they make a joke about that in Encanto. She's like, I'm going to go save the magic. And then she puts on her shoes and storms out of the house. And she's like, wait, how do I do that?
Nice.
So yeah. So anyway, he goes off on his horse and, which I won't be talking about very much.
Don't talk about the horse. Don't think about the horse. The horse is fine. Everything's
The
fine.
horse is fine.
Artex is fine.
The horse is fine at the
Artex
end.
is fine. He's there at the end, galloping
Yeah.
through a meadow. Everything's fine.
So he goes out on his quest. He meets various magical creatures, including a giant turtle that's very aggressive. He goes through the swamps of sadness. And the whole thing about the swamps of sadness is that if you give in to the sadness, then the swamps will swallow you. And then his horse is there. And
Yeah. Pretty tough
the
stuff.
horse.
Pretty
horse.
tough stuff.
Genuinely, there's an incredibly traumatic scene. The horse gets swallowed into the swamp and it's really sad. And then Atreyu is really sad about it.
Yeah, it's pretty gutting.
And it happens fairly early in the movie.
I will tell you, I forgot that it happened within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this movie, I'm so pumped about it. Oh no, he's in the magical place. Oh, not already? Sinking horse.
Already? I'm not ready yet.
Hey, also, I felt really gross because that mud was so slurpy and glorpy, and the sounds.
Well, I quite liked that.
They were hard for me to listen to. I'm going to be honest with you. It was very difficult for me to listen.
Yeah, you didn't like icky things, do you? That's also basically like the first thing that happens. They're like, we need this amazing adventurer, this warrior, and then this boy turns up and they're like, well, we didn't ask for a boy. And he's like, hey, I'm Atreyu. And they're like, well, I guess you're fine. Off he goes, no clue where he's going, straight to the swamps of sadness, when he then falls in them, his horse dies, and then he's just like squirming around covered in mud. It's like, wow, what a great adventurer.
You could go anywhere. Why did you go to that squelchy flippin' mud fest? Atreyu, dude, horses' legs are super long and skinny, right? And they're also heavy because horses are
small
big.
Surface area on the
Horses are big.
Yeah. Leave the horse. Like, he's probably got to go back out again. Yeah. Leave the horse at the entrance.
Leave him at the entrance.
Go in. Come out.
Find out if you found the nothing or whatever, and then leave your horse tied up on firm terra firma. Right? I'm not a equestrian, but I know that horses. If I met a horse and I was like, "Hey, horse, you want to go walk in the mud?" I think the horse would say, if they could talk, "No, that's a terrible idea." Have you seen? No, wait a minute. Seriously, I'm not horsing around here. But have you seen the anatomy of me? Right, big on top, skinny on the bottom. I'm gonna sink right into that slime. But instead, Atreyu was like, "We're going and don't get.
You're not
sad.
even riding me.
You're not. But he couldn't. Can you imagine? He would have sank even faster. He was riding him. It would have been over in 2 seconds.
You know what? Atreyu killed his horse, okay? Atreyu killed Artax.
He's a bad horse companion, and like, horses are sentient beings. So don't drag your horse into the mud, Atreyu, so-called hero. You
know how it's popular to be like, oh, the real villain of The Devil Wears Prada isn't Miranda Priestley, it's actually Andy's boyfriend.
Let's say I know that. Yeah, sure, totes.
Oh, I'll send you some memes.
Nope.
This is my new thing, which is
Atreyu killed Artax.
Atreyu is the real villain of the NeverEnding Story because he killed his horse through irresponsible pet ownership.
He's basically the Voldemort of this movie. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Anyway, I was recapping it.
So he's gotten as far as the muddy place.
He's in the swamp. He kills his horse cruelly and mercilessly. And then you can kind of imagine, like, there's this kind of generic adventure story, which is that he goes on to save everything and it's all fine.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the kid defeats the bullies. But the cool thing, well, one of the cool things about this film is that there's this weird meta, self-aware element to it. Which is that Atreyu becomes conscious of the fact that Bastian is reading the book about him, and we see both of them sort of start to interact over time, and then at the end Bastian actually becomes part of the story because there's this whole thing, there's this empress and she needs a name, and she's like, you need to give me a name, and then Atreyu's like, what, how, and then she's like, well, the guy reading the book of this can give me a name and he needs to say it. And then they have a conversation, which is a bit strange. But then she also makes references to the audience. She's like, somebody's reading this book. And not only that, but there's also people who are watching him in a film. And you're like, whoa, dude, what?
I mean, if I was, I was tripping out when I realized that. Yes. It burned my brain. Like the queen, the newly named Moonchild is talking about me, myself, and Irene, me over here watching this movie that's 35 years old, watching Bastian reading a book about Atreyu in a magical land, which is based on a book called The NeverEnding Story. And if she had said, and that person who's getting a little older but still cool, who's watching this movie, is also being watched by another person, I would have believed her. If she had said, and there's a person in the window.
I was thinking, And then there's just this like middle-aged woman staring at you, and it's the same actress, and she's been paid to come to your house. Each time somebody watches The NeverEnding Story, they find out, they send her a quick alert, or like somebody in the area who looks similar enough, and they turn up to your house and they watch you through the window. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh man, what if somebody was watching me watching this film, watching him read the book? And then I was like, this would be the most boring movie ever because I've not moved all day. This
movie's meta as anything, and I didn't realize that when I was a kid. All I thought was when I was a kid, it's about like a flying luck dragon and a book thing.
Oh yeah, I literally didn't even mention Falcor at all.
You didn't even mention Falcor! Or the older couple who the guy studies the things that point lasers at you, and you have to remember to be courageous to get through it, right?
Yeah. Only those who believe in themselves can get through the gate. Would you get through the gate?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Get through the
hell
gate.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'd walk up to the gate, and they'd start to open their little eyes, and I would just think, I'd look one of them in the face and I'd say, not today, Egyptian-looking thing. I'm just some guy. Then I turn to the other one and I go, "Did you hear me? I'm fine. I'm just some guy." And they'd look at me, they'd realize that I'm not worth the bullets, and they'd let me walk by. Then I'd go have a snow cone and, I don't know, maybe have a sit down for a while. You don't think you'd get through it?
No, I wouldn't even leave my house to go to the gate in the first place. They would come to me and they'd be like, "We need an adventurer," and I'd be like, only the purest soul with the strength of spirit and purity of heart may do this quest. You must believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
you'd be like,
no.
"Ooh, there's a thing. Sorry, here's just a couple questions real quick." And then they go, no, it's fine. We'll find somebody.
What elements of myself do I have to believe in order to be able to do this? I believe in my ability to look after a horse for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So therefore I'm better than Atreyu already.
Let me ask you one question, Queen of the Never-Ending Land, right? Do I have to make sure a horse doesn't die? Because if the answer is don't keep...
For about 20 minutes.
Do I have to make sure a horse doesn't die in a swamp? Yeah, I'm your guy. I'm the guy. I'm the one. Choose me for this hero's journey.
No, I think we're going to go with a 10-year-old.
Yeah, because that's better. Although, to be fair, this 10-year-old is pretty, driven and he seems determined, right? And he's got a cool leather vest. So we think probably between the 10-year-old and you... No big deal. We're going with the 10-year-old. That's cool, right? And you'd be fine with it. I would be.
Yeah, that's fine. They're like, "Hey, the nothing is going to destroy your world, and everything you know is going to vanish, and your life's going to be over." And I would be like, "Oh, finally."
There's a big red flag for me in this movie that I really need to talk about. Okay, and I know that sometimes we've been given some feedback, and we've given ourselves the correction that maybe we go too deep onto something too specific that has nothing to, quote, do with the actual movie, right? So apologies if this is one of those things, but did you clock in the first scene with the dad, and they're in the kitchen, and by the way, we don't see the dad after this scene, so that's fun. When he's talking to his kid about, you need to be on the ground and get your head out of the clouds. Did you notice what the dad made for breakfast for himself in the background of that scene?
Orange juice or something?
Orange juice was one of the ingredients.
I didn't see the others, no. I just saw the orange juice.
Dad takes a big old glass of orange juice and pours it into a blender and then cracks a raw egg into that orange juice and blends it up and drinks it like a dang smoothie. Okay? Then he tells his kid to get his head out of the clouds. End of scene. I saw that and I stood bolt upright and said, something's wrong here. And I watched that scene again just to double check he didn't cook the egg or whatever. And I Googled it. And if you'd like to know that apparently in the 70s and 80s, there was a short-lived sort of thing where people thought orange juice and an egg, perfect protein breakfast, and they thought that the orange juice would cook the egg in such a way that it wouldn't make you sick, and it was protein and salt and sugar and all that stuff mixed together. I give that drink 4 thumbs down. Don't even ever talk to me about it ever again. It sounds like a literal liquid nightmare, and I just needed to bring that to everybody's attention. I feel lighter.
You know what's weird is that when I was watching that first bit, I did think, because it's a very slow start to the film, and because I was coming from the perspective of having this vague memory of a little bit of Falcor and lots of traumatic horse death and a little bit of fantasy flight, and I kind of remembered the fact that it was a book. Somebody was reading a book, but then I was like, oh, am I getting this confused with The Princess Bride and stuff?
Right, similar.
So I was thinking oh, this is an odd start. It's just a kid sitting and nobody really says anything for a few moments, and the dad is doing the crime in the corner with the blender. And I was thinking, the reason why I didn't pay attention to what he was actually doing was I was like, what does this say about the character that the kid is sitting here eating breakfast, reading, and then the dad comes in, doesn't say anything to him, and then comes over, and I was like, I guess it might be to set the atmosphere as very tense between them, because I think that is what they are sort of... in my experience from writing scripts, right, you want to be in a situation where every single thing that you write in that script in some way is either building character or adding to the atmosphere in one way or another, right?
Sure.
So like you can't have anything that's just filler.
Yeah, like on a farm, why you
information.
can't have like an animal that isn't food or doesn't do something, right? That's why you can't have a cat on a farm. Can't keep a cat as a pet.
Exactly like that.
Can't eat them.
Exactly like that.
Can't eat them. They don't make milk
They
or
catch
eggs.
rats.
Oh, that's why you're allowed to have a cat, but you can't have, I don't know, like a giraffe.
A chinchilla.
Why would you have one? They don't make meat. They don't make eggs. They're non-essential. You're saying about films, though, it's the same. If they don't add to the story, get them out of here.
I love where your mind goes sometimes. It's so enjoyable to experience. Because I feel like I'm completely on one track and then you'll go, oh yeah, it's like this. And I'm like, ah.
Oh,
cool.
I you know, as my aged brain starts to literally fold in on itself and cause wrinkles of wrinkles, some strange stuff comes out, and you know, I used to apologize for it, and now I'm proud of it. You know, one day the perfect analogy will come out in like a crystal ball, and it will cure all of the world's heartaches. Characters are supposed to move the plot forward. I didn't know that. Is that a thing?
Yeah, so like all dialogue has to be revealing character or driving the plot, and then all actions have to be like revealing character or building atmosphere, basically.
Yeah.
So like
All right.
you got to have like, oh, why is he pouring the orange juice? Is it because he's avoiding talking to his son? Because you can't just say, oh, that's just what he has for breakfast. It has to be there for a reason.
Right.
It's showing us, particularly in like the first few minutes of a film, it's got to show us who this person is or show us what his relationship with his son is. So it's like, you know, why has the writer put that there?
Why? And I have no explanation for that question.
Yeah. I don't know that there is a very clear.
Well, here's the thing, right? So you know his mom died, right? And that's why he's sad. And also Bastian and his dad haven't connected since the mom died, which is sad. And he kind of goes, you got to just get over it. Mom died. Get better. Get your head out of the clouds.
That was so 2 years ago.
Right? Also, I think it was like 6 months ago, by the way. Like it literally just happened. And he's...
Move on already.
Maybe the mom died of malnutrition or something, and the dad is like, I got to get healthy, right? I got to get healthy. I got to get my kid's head out of the clouds. And we got to get back to work, right?
He was having an affair before the mom died.
And guess what? She worked for the like egg council, you know? The people who like
Big Egg.
She worked for Big Egg, right? She worked for Big Egg. Yeah.
I was gonna say, he was having an affair before the mum died, and then once she died, then he was like, oh, I need to sort myself up and get in shape because he's now got this new person in his life that's like trying to change him. I was halfway through saying that, but as it was coming out of my mouth, my brain suddenly goes, what if he killed the wife? And then I'm like, oh, now I want to say that, and I want to pursue that thread instead.
Dude,
what if he murdered his wife? And the whole reason that this kid has his head in the clouds is because he was traumatized from seeing his mum get murdered. And then you said she works for the egg, and then I was like, oh, Big Egg. And then I was like, what if she's an egg saleswoman?
Yeah.
And the whole film is a secret marketing strategy for eggs.
Hey. Propaganda is a real thing, okay? Product placement has been around forever.
And the whole NeverEnding Story self-aware meta thing is actually the whole thing.
It's about eggs. The whole thing, the entire whole dang thing is to get people to eat eggs. And actually, to be fair, think about the history of eggs, right? Just everybody really think about it. Oh, eggs are bad for you. Eggs are really good for you. Eggs are now bad for you again. Actually, eggs are the life cure that will make you live forever, right?
This is a real thing.
This is a real thing.
That they genuinely did. A bunch of people who were invested in eggs in America started promoting eggs
totally
in like the 80s.
And guess when this movie came out? The 80s. So
Listen here, guys.
This is the
Thanks for
thing.
tuning into our podcast.
Breaking it right
You're not going to
down.
believe this.
Crack this one. Yolks on
Wake
your
up,
face.
sheeple.
This is a classic conspiracy theory, and I've been waiting years to tell you that the never-ending story, more like the never-egging story, right, is about yolks and shells, and Falcor is actually a giant egg, and also rock biters, more like yolk biters. Am I right? My point is this movie was made to promote eggs, okay? And normally we wait until after the ad to twist the movie, but maybe that's version 1, wherein the movie happens this way. Bastian is sad and he's not focusing on his studies and he thinks something's not right at home because something isn't right. Bastian's dad having an affair with someone from the Egg Council who decides to murder his wife. Okay, and he does it in a really funny way.
He's having an affair with someone who decides to murder his wife.
Yeah. No, wait.
The person he's having an affair with is the one who murders.
Oh, that's right.
His wife.
The lady from the Egg Council. She's the one who murders Bastian's dad because I feel like maybe
This is all happening in the background of the movie.
Yeah.
Like the movie is the same, but just every now
Sure.
and again we see a
the
glimpse
never-ending
of this
story
other
still
story.
happens, but there's a few flashbacks where it's just like, Bastian's dad meets up with the egg lady and they have a torrid love affair, right, in a like a motel.
I was
around the
thinking more
corner.
like it's happening like in the reflection of a window in the background, you know. And she like holds out an egg, and you see the outline of the egg. And
Yeah.
while Bastian's like, "Oh, Atreyu," or whatever.
Atreyu, no, and he looks at Atreyu, huh? And then Atreyu goes, "Yeah, sorry, you trailed off there for a second. Bastian, you okay? We're gonna go name the name,
Yeah,
and
I think we lost the connection. What's going on? And then it just cuts to Bastian tucking into a lovely plate of scrambled eggs
everything's fine on my end.
with his new mom.
Yep. New mom says everything's a-okay.
Sorry, what was going on? A thing with like a nothing or something? I'm sure you got that covered.
You guys probably need to eat more eggs. That's what I think. Right? Hey, do you know what solves the nothing? Eggs.
Do you like eggs? Us too. Why not go to podbean.com/plot-twisters. You won't get any eggs there, but you will get 1 free month of podcast hosting, so that's kind of better. I have a wild idea.
As wild as this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
However, I would also like to know if you have a cool thing, because mine is pretty wild. So if you have a cool idea, say it now, or forever hold your peace.
I had this
Whatever
one
it is.
idea where it was like, what if it's a regular high school, but also one of the kids at high school is actually a Falcor? And what would that be like? But it's just basically Teen Wolf, but like bigger, you know?
Yeah, Teen Dragon.
Teen Dragon.
He goes to high school, but he's a dragon.
Oh, I'm going to algebra class next. Whoa, I'm a
And he's
luck
like-
dragon.
Well, it's us. We're in chemistry, and all the Bunsen burners aren't working. If only we had some other way of accessing this.
And everybody looks at Falcor and he just goes, you guys.
Again.
Look, I'm having a tough time, okay? My mom won't talk to me because we had a big fight and I'm failing English, if you can
Do
believe
the
it.
thing. Do the thing.
Guys, it's every day with you guys. Always asking me to burn things. What if I want to learn things, not burn things? Anyway, what's your idea? What's your idea?
My idea is, so I thought long and hard about this, which is that this is a great film, and I think we could attempt to fix it, but I kind of don't want to, because I think a lot of what makes it so good is its inherent quirkiness. Like, there's definitely things that could have been cleared up, and things could be clearer, and the storyline could be more streamlined, but
Right.
I think it's okay. I think we can leave it.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is something else, and I suppose we've been trying a bit of this recently, which is creating new content rather than reworking old content. I was thinking we could try and come up with a new film where a kid reads a book and then the book.
I love it. Yeah.
But it's present day. How would that work now? That's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
That. I think it's a great idea. Great thing. It was a thing from the 80s. Why didn't it happen now? And also, like, we would have a really cool banger song to, get us going. Okay. So, like, what kind of book are you thinking?
Well, I guess, so I have done this before where you have to come up with an idea quite quickly and usually it's just like shoot a few questions, answer them, and then go off of that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
free
what
form.
I can do
Free
is
form.
kind of like we did this for the Teen Wolf episode. It's just like here's a character, here's a situation, and then we ended up with the diamond in the rough that was my reinterpretation of Teen Wolf with Mike Sarah.
Better.
So I kind of want to do the same for
Much
you.
Better.
But
okay. All right.
But I'll
I'm game.
go a bit more abstract.
I'm up. I'm in. Sign me up.
So we have our kid. They're reading a book. Why are they stuck reading the book?
They're waiting for this. It's insane.
Oh dear.
It's completely insane.
What were you gonna say?
Here's the idea, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The kid and the rest of the family are waiting for their mom to come home. She's been away for a long time, okay?
Okay.
A prison maybe. And they're waiting for her.
Right.
They're waiting for her to come home, and the kids in the house have decided that they want to make the house look exactly the same way as it was when she left. And when she left, everyone was in bed. Okay.
Hey, that's wait. That's
What?
actually a cool movie just on its own. That they have to put everything back the way it was.
It's exactly the same.
She
Right?
she left in the 80s.
Sure.
So
they were all tucked up like it's still the 80s, and it was that morning. It was a Saturday morning. Dad was reading them stories. They were still in bed. She got taken away, maybe to prison or maybe to space for some reason. I'm not sure which. But either way, they're trying to recreate it because if they don't get it just exactly right, Mom won't be able to come home and be back home.
But if the whole film was them getting their house to look like it was in the 80s, that would be a good standalone film. Like,
yeah, no, totally.
They have to buy loads of stuff on eBay.
Listen to this. They, for some reason, the one of the parents, probably maybe the dad, was really into photography, so he has all these photos of the house, and the parents have now died. And the parents have now died. Okay, it's very sad. They were blasted away through some weird book that they read, and they disappeared. And the kids, for years, 30 years, have thought, if I think something with that book, and they tried to get the parents back, but they didn't come back, and they realized they need to make the house look exactly the same as it was when their parents disappeared. The dad took a lot of photos, so they have photo albums of the house and exactly what it looked like, and they spend a long time buying all the stuff on eBay and making the house look exactly the same so they can bring their parents back. A bit like Jumanji. It's a bit like Jumanji in a way.
I love this.
Right? It's a brother and a sister. They're in their 30s now. They've grown up. They've lived a life of, it's been fine, but they've never felt whole because Mom disappeared and they don't know why.
I really like the idea of the real world story being that they're trying to put the house back to the way it was. Mm-hmm. And then the in-book story is that they're trying to reclaim the things that they lost.
Yo.
Because of they got old and cynical, and maybe stuff there was a teddy bear in the bedroom, but then in the book world,
it's a bear.
It's a giant, massive bear.
Yeah.
And she just has to realize that and has to learn to love it, and then has to treat it with kindness or something. And then in the real world, she then finds the little bear and she's like, huh,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
What if it's actually that their dad is still there, but
he's alive?
Or can we make it the mum? Because the dad, it's always the mum that's dead. Let's make it the mum. So the mum is still living in the house.
Right.
But the dad, I think, maybe left, let's say, or vanished.
Right.
He vanished.
Went out for a pack of cigarettes, never came back, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the mum has basically, she used to have this amazing, beautiful house, and she was like an artist, so she like painted all of these amazing murals on the wall.
Yeah.
And like had like these wonderful vases everywhere and
Everything's
flowers.
all
And
faded
she loved flowers.
now.
And now it's all faded, and she's like, everything's broken, and it's all like things have been lost, and there's like a rocking horse with like no rock, and a musical box with no music, and things like this. Yep. And they're like, they go home because it's like it would have been their wedding anniversary or something.
Sure, they go home.
Maybe she's like going away for a week or something. But they're like, look, we're going to put things back to the way that they were. We're going to bring the magic back to this place. And whilst they're doing that, that's how they find the book. Yeah. That's why they go into the book world. Yeah. That's where the dad is.
And that's where the dad is. He's stuck in the book in the past.
Yes. He got stuck in there kind of like Jumanji. But more like a romance story.
But it's more, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And they end up talking to the dad, much like Bastian talking to Moonchild, through the book, and they realize what they need to get right. And then the dad is magically transported back to the house, and the house looks just like they were when they were kids. And I don't know, maybe they do go back in time. That is very much like Jumanji. Does it reset time, or is it present day?
I think he's aged in the world, but it's kind of like in Narnia, where he's become like a character in the book world. Sure. So it's like, we like Dread Pirate Roberts, like we need to fight the watchman of the castle.
The watchman.
We need to defeat him because he's invaded the Queen's castle and he's holed up in there. We need to defeat him. And then they get there and they find out it's actually been the dad.
I love it.
And they're like, he's like, wait, oh my God, no, don't kill them. Right at the last second, there's something terrible's about to happen. And he's like, don't kill them. Those are my kids.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh my God. And they're like, Daddy.
Then they're running towards their dad, and the dad breaks free, and he's running towards the kids, and then all of them look down and realize that they are sinking into the swamp of sadness.
Oh, no.
And they have to reaffirm their love to claw their way out.
So they have to be like, why did you leave us? And he's like, I never wanted to leave you. And they're like, no.
Yep.
You have to be honest with us. We're gonna sink. Please, why did you leave us? And he goes,
I was scared.
Okay? I was scared. You kids, you were so young, and your mother was so loving and incredible and creative, and I just didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel good enough for any of you, and I just had to run away.
And they're slowly rising a little bit, but they're still sinking. And then they hear the galloping hoof sound of Artex, the horse who can talk in this movie, and he rides up and he goes, "Ooh, sinking in the swamp of sadness. I've been there, my friends."
Hey, what's up with the swamp of sadness?
Am I right? Boom, ba-doom, doom, dip, boom. Right? Hey, tell me if this has ever happened to you. You and your friend, the hero, go into the swamp and you sink into the mud. Am I right?
Hey, what's up with these horse riding adventurers who are like, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go straight to that mud swamp with my horse who has small hooves and is heavy.
Every single time.
Am I right?
Hey, if you're like me, you've sunk into a few swamps. Am I right? Right? Hey, one time me and my owner, Atreyu, you know the kind, leather vest, chest sticking out, weird medallion, doesn't care about horse rights. He says, let's go to the swamp. And I go, nay. And you know what he said? He said, yay. Ugh. Yeah, I don't have to tell you what happened next. Sank right to the bottom. Bottom bump. No, he's all right. He's a good kid. He's
right here tonight. Look at him. Hey, it is his birthday. Happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday.
Ooh, Atreyu's out there going to save the kingdom. Which way you gotta go? Not sure. Every direction. Get a map. Right? Get a map. That's what I always say. Oh, I'm here all night. I'm here all week.
I hope you got a couple more adventures, because this guy's going straight in the swamp, if you know what I mean.
I'm laughing so hard, my throat's clenching up. I'm going horse. Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
You're such an idiot. Well, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the NeverEnding Story. Anders, on a scale of 1 to 5 gourmet rocks.
Line scale. Aged granite rock.
On a scale of 1 to 5 gourmet rocks, how many rocks do you rate this film?
I give it a 4. It was a great movie. I loved it. I thought it was really fun and really wild and really weird. I didn't give it a 5 because I've seen it a bunch of times and I still
the horse
don't.
Died.
Because I still don't totally understand it, and plus the horse died. You know, it's a bit confusing. Dead horse. 4 gourmet rocks. What about you? What would you give this movie?
4.5.
Nice.
I think you know why I'm taking off the half.
Because we talked about eggs so much.
I'm rating this movie down because of this episode of the podcast that we've just recorded about the movie.
It was a perfect film until you
ruined
messed
the
it up.
movie for me. Talking about the movie with you ruined the movie for me, and then recording it and releasing it on Apple Podcasts. Spotify,
With great
maybe.
power comes great responsibility, indeed.
I think that I love the message about the nothing and the believing and the creative and the meta-ness so much.
Yeah.
It's a 4.5 for me. Anyway, Anders, thank you so much for spending this time with me talking about this wonderful film, The NeverEnding Story.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, key change. Story, The NeverEnding Story. Turn around. Do you want to hear my dreams? Falcor, and also that guy who eats raw.
Atreyu, he killed his horse. Artak,
He is now a dead horse.
Hey, are we flogging a dead horse here with this joke?
Probably.
Every time we come up with jokes about horses, we just go on about it forever. It's what we love to do here on this podcast. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Horsing around on the podcast.